Hi guys, welcome back. In this tutorial I'm going to show you really quickly how to sum all of the elements in an array. That is to say that I'm going to take all the values inside of an array and add them all together and find the total. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to find the average. We'll see that it just takes one extra line of code and we can take our sum of the array and find the average for the entire array. Okay, so let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create an array of doubles. Okay, now I could do this just as easily with ints or floats, but I usually use ints in these demonstrations, so let's do something a little differently. Okay, so let's make this array double R. Okay, and let's just put some values in here. We'll use an initialization list. Okay, 5.7, 8.2, 3.1, 10.12. Okay, we'll just do something simple like that. All right, and let me use a global constant here. Not a global constant, excuse me, a constant integer that I'll use for the size declarator and also within my for loop and for doing the average, for finding the average. Okay, so const int size equals, I think there's 4 elements. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. So let's go ahead and put this in here. We'll explicitly declare this. Okay, I don't have to have this size declarator in here, but let's just do it just for the heck of it. Okay, so right now I'm explicitly declaring the size of this array of doubles. All right, so we're going to need to find the sum of these guys, so of these elements. So let's have a variable to store that information. Okay, double sum. Okay, now remember, it's important to initialize whenever we're putting an accumulator, or we're going to use an accumulator like this. It's important that we initialize the accumulator to 0. Okay, because otherwise we could end up with some garbage value, or we will end up with some garbage value that's stored inside sum, and we don't want that. Okay, so let's see. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to initialize it. Initialize the accumulator to 0. Okay, and explicitly define the size of the array. Okay, and now let's write a for loop that's going to help us to, or that's going to do the work of summing up the total value of all the elements of the array. Okay, so for int I equals 0, I less than size, I plus plus. Okay, and then we just need a statement here, sum plus equals R of I. Okay, so there we go. So that array is gonna sum up. It's going to add to sum each element of the array. All right. So why do we start the counter inside the for loop at 0? Well, remember the subscripts for arrays begin at 0. Okay, so 5.7 is located in element 0, 8.1 is located in element 1, 3.1 in element 2, and 10.12 in element 3. Okay, so this for loop is going to, through each iteration, it's going to add the contents of each element into the sum variable. Okay, so let's do a little cout statement here to show the sum. Alright, so let's go ahead and compile and run this thing to test it. Okay, so there we go. So the sum of array R is 27.12. So if we add all of these 4 elements up, that's the total we're going to get. Okay, so let me show you what would happen if we didn't initialize sum to 0. If we just did this, this is a common mistake that I see a lot of students do, is that they get all the rest of it right, but they forget to set sum to 0. Okay. All right. Okay. Some compilers won't let you even compile. They'll give you an error message saying, you know, that you're trying to use a variable before you initialize it, or they might, give you a warning, but let you compile anyway. Code blocks will go ahead and let me run this thing. So look at what the sum of my array says now. Okay, it's some huge number in any notation, right? It's definitely the wrong value. Okay, why is that? Well, because we've added the sum of all of the elements of the array to some garbage value that just happened to be in the location that sum was, or that sum has been assigned. Right? It's whatever value was there before our program ran. So let's set sum back to 0. Oops. Okay, and run it again. And there we go. Everything's great, right? Because we're starting at 0 and we're adding all of the elements to sum, so we get the correct value. All right, so that's how we can sum the elements of an array using a for loop. What if we want to find the average? Well, this is easy. Okay, the average of array R is, all we have to do is take the sum that we already figured out and divide that by the size of the array, and that's going to give us our average. Okay, so the average value stored inside the array is 6.78 for each of the elements. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it'll be helpful to you doing your assignments and moving forward. If you have any questions, as always, shoot me an email or feel free to stop by my office hours. Okay, thanks for watching.